Hey everybody, welcome back to the Outcomes Rocket. So excited to be reporting to you live from ACC 24 in Atlanta, Georgia. Today I have the privilege of having the outstanding Dr. Udo Hoffmann with us. He is the Chief Scientific Officer at Cleerly Health. Dr. Hoffmann, thanks for joining me today.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to have you here. And look, we're gonna cover a lot of the work that you guys are doing in AI and really across a lot of different areas. But in particular, I wanted to learn more about you and also about Cleerly.
So by training, I'm a radiologist, and I spent 20 years at Mass General and Harvard Medical School and built there the cardiovascular imaging program, clinically and research. And during that time, I did a lot of clinical trials, and really I was fascinated by CT technology or imaging technology in general. And my goal was always to bring the best to the patients. And that is also what I think led me to Cleerly. So I joined about a year and a half ago as the Chief Scientific Officer, as you said. And one of the reasons is because I would say what's unique about us is that as a medtech company, we are investing very heavily in clinical trials and evidence generation that you typically see only at a level in the pharmaceutical industry, but not in medtech. We're going to talk about some of these, but that was very fascinating to me. And of course, Cleerly as a whole, as a company, we think we can contribute of cutting down the number one cause of death in the United States, which is death from cardiovascular disease and heart attacks and stroke, etc. So Cleerly has developed a very good technology to capture coronary artery disease. And we do this with the help of AI, and we have published many studies that show that we're pretty accurate compared to gold standards. So, we're kind of ready to roll. We're still kind of a young company, but we are growing, and we're seeing at this meeting a very great reception as well. So, I'm happy to be at this year's meeting.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so great to hear your passion and feel your passion about this area. Coronary artery disease is a big thing. As you said, number one killer of people in the US and probably top 5 in the world, right?
I would say that's right, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that I really like to learn, right? We're here to share the things and advancements that we've made, and we're going to touch on those. But tell us one insight that you've come upon here at the conference.
It's a good question. I've been coming to the ACC for the last 25 years. I go to other conferences, AHA, RSNA, but I think this year I would say I feel there's an energy about the meeting that I feel is one of the best meetings. And what I've really realized this year is that there's so many innovations out there. There's so many innovations that are presented here, whether it's devices, whether it's drug, whether it's other interventions. And, so we don't lack innovations, but I can see, our main issue is to implement these innovations and get them to patients. They all sound great as an idea and as a concept, and they work in a certain environment, but how do we bring this to the patients, and how do we know whether it works with the patient? So there's the growing insight, I feel, that we have to really differentiate between efficacy trials and then implementation science. Often that gets kind of put together in pragmatic trials, and at the end you don't really know why you saw the result that you saw, and it's kind of not very satisfying. So I think if I can promote something in the way we look at devices and how they, how efficient they are, I would say, let's start with proof of principle, and then do implementation science separately and later. I don't know if that resonates with you.
It does. It definitely does. And it's good to have a balance between advancing the science, the technology, but is it reaching patients? And ultimately, that's the measurement of success.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And look, top of mind, at this conference and really across the world is this topic of AI and Gen AI in healthcare. Talk to us about what Cleerly's doing, and in particular, I'd love for you to highlight a little bit more on the Transform trial and the recent FDA approvals that you guys have gotten.
That's obviously a great softball for me. I'm going to take that. So in the early years of CT, or even when I was at Mass General, I mean, it took us about 5 to 6 hours to analyze a cardiac CT for quantitative data. Now you can imagine that is not practical. That's not, you can do that in a research setting also, but not in a clinical practice setting. So Cleerly has cut this time down to 1.5 minutes.
Amazing. Through
AI. And of course, there's still quality management, et cetera. So, it's a little bit more than 1.5 minutes. But that's just something, if you're doing 80 CTs a day, you can't hire 15 fellows or faculty to look, come up with these numbers, but you can use an AI-based software to give you these results right away. So I think there's an immediate, very palpable benefit for that. It's just fascinating. So we thought about, okay, so what can we do? CT, although it's there and it's accepted, it's still kind of a not very much used technology, right? The stress testing is, 80% of the testing is done. So we thought about, what can we do? What's the trial that we can do to really convince patients, providers that doing a CT, analyzing coronary disease is the right thing to do. And I'm saying this, let the results speak for themselves. But what is the trial? And so we came up with the Transform trial, which I think is so exciting because we are looking here at high-risk asymptomatic patients, and there's a randomized trial, and we randomize patients to be managed based on risk factor-based care, hypertension, LDL levels, diabetes, versus Cleerly-based care, which is a coronary artery disease-based care. And for that one, we put an algorithm together that you can kind of see here that uses all the information that you can extract from coronary atherosclerosis and puts it in a simple staging system. And where we got this from, we got this from cancer. That cancer, you have stages, and based on the stages, there is different treatments. And so that's the principle of the Transform trial. We stage coronary disease, and then we treat based on stage. The higher the stage, the more aggressive the therapy, and the more aggressive the therapy goals. And so, we plan to randomize 7,500 patients at 100 US sites, and we'll follow them for a median of 3.5 years. And then our endpoint is events, health, cardiovascular events, MI, cardiovascular death, stroke, etc. So major heart events, we call it heart events. And so, of course, the hypothesis is that if you treat based on coronary disease, your baseline assessment of cardiovascular risk is much more precise than as compared to risk factors. And so that will result really in saving lives and reducing the number of heart attacks.
That's significant.
Yeah.
That is a couple clarifying questions on that. So with this trial, is the primary mechanism of detection CT?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And the stages that you mentioned, is that something that is new you guys came up with? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, that's something that's new. It's a device under investigation, so it's of course not FDA approved yet. Sure. But the trial will actually serve. At the end of the trial, we aim to get FDA approval for that device. So the trial, it's almost like we're running this more like a pharmaceutical trial.
Sure.
As I said, that's one of the main reasons I joined Cleerly is that excitement to really do the right thing. Even though it's a big it's a big investment.
I love it. Yeah, and once the results come through, if they are what we think it's going to be, there's possibly an opportunity for people out there to take more proactive care of themselves.
Yeah.
Something like I had mentioned mammography or colonoscopy, that type of idea, right?
Yeah. So. Absolutely. We know that when patients can see their coronary disease, it motivates them to change their lifestyles, to adhere to medications. And we know that that is lacking if you don't have it. So just to give you an example, based on, you treat LDL with statin or other lipid-lowering therapy, but, a year after initiation of treatment, only 50% of patients actually still taking the drug. And after 5 years, it's only 10%, right? So patients need to be motivated. It turns out that, if a patient knows they have heart disease and they can look at it, this is my heart, and I can show you, this is the coronary disease, it motivates them. Of course, we have to strike the balance. Patient also get anxious about these things, but that's normal. That's part of the motivation actually to adhere to medical therapy. I want to just say one thing, which I forgot. Going back to the you mentioned FDA. We feel very privileged that we got accepted in this device, CAD staging. Was accepted as a breakthrough device designation. This is reserved for products or devices that have no predicate, so there's nothing comparable at the market, and B, they are expected to really make a big difference in people's lives. So through that, we got accepted into the TAP program, which is the Total Product
Pilot Program.
Yeah, a pilot program. And so there, the FDA together with us is thinking about the right way to bring this product to the market. So, we're very thrilled to work with the FDA on that, and for a company that is, of course, a big deal for us. Yeah.
Amazing, and folks, that's the thrill of where we're at in medicine today. With doctors like Dr. Hoffman, companies like Cleerly Health, you're looking at the digitization of health, and it's just incredible when you go from 5 hours to a couple seconds of reading a CT, and then having this opportunity to have proactive care for these types of diseases that didn't exist anymore is really exciting. So thank you for helping us understand the context of all of that. I know that our listeners and viewers likely are going to have more questions, and they're going to want to know more. So where can they find out more about this? And what call to action would you leave everybody listening and viewing us?
Thank you again, and so please, if you're interested, you want to be part of the Transform trial, you want to know more about Cleerly, there's a couple of ways you can reach us. One is we have a website, transformtrial.org, and then of course, Cleerly Health, you can find on the web very easily. And please let us know whether you have questions or if you're interested in joining one of our endeavors.
Thank you, Dr. Hoffman. And for everybody watching and listening us today, in the show notes, you're going to find links to all of the references that Dr. Hoffman referenced. In addition to that, the team at Cleerly are doing a webinar series where you could educate yourself on the progress of this trial, on the progress of AI within cardiac medicine and beyond. So make sure you check that out, all in the show notes. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And Dr. Hoffman, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. Pleasure.